Good evening, everyone. So finally, it's a good evening.
Like,
Last time.
Evening. India has won this match,
Yes.
and what a cliffhanger.
Yes.
What a terrific game. I just feel, just to kind of interject, I just feel that this series could have been far, far closer. The 4-1 verdict in not in India's favor
In
does
Australia's
not
favour.
necessarily reflect the quality of the competition. I feel it could have been 3-2 either way.
Yes.
India could have won this 3-2 or Australia 3-2. That would have been a fairer result. However, having said that, I think India will, kind of ruminate over their missed opportunities. They could have won or done much better than they did, as they've shown today. Under
Especially
pressure.
at Melbourne and Canberra in the third and fourth.
Absolutely. The fourth match, certainly, you shouldn't have lost, but it almost seemed like a replay happening again today.
Exactly.
This
has been a series of deja vus. The first and second match were very similar, and for a while, this looked like it's going to be very similar to the Canberra chase. But all said and done, we are live here with Ayaz for the first post-game plan. After the fifth ODI, final ODI, it's ended 4-1. Australia, deserved winners at the end.
Oh yeah, look, you cannot take away from Australia's, credit. They were from the World Cup team, which made them the number one side in the world in terms of ICC ranking as well as the World Cup champions. They've lost Michael Clarke, Mitchell Johnson in this series. They haven't had Mitchell Starc, and a couple of games they missed David Warner.
Yes.
Apart from that, they've been rotating their players around. Obviously, they've got an eye on the next World Cup.
Yes.
They're building a team around Steve Smith with a lot of young players.
That's how they always do. That's how Australia build their team.
And therefore their bench strength is fabulous, because they've really, and what I've liked about the Australian team is these were flat tracks. Every match has gone to 300 plus virtually.
Yes.
And yet the way they've come back in the death overs, just when it seemed that India would walk away with the game, they've come out and bowled and fielded superbly.
True.
Or
Almost except for the first ODI, I think the bowlers in the death have done really well for Australia.
correct. Or if they are chasing, then they find a couple of guys to go out there and play a smashing knock. Today it happened. They were in some trouble when Mitch Marsh came and played that splendid knock. So Australia found answers to a lot of their questions, so to speak, selectoral questions. India pursuing a similar thought. They're also building a young team, looking ahead maybe to the next World Cup, or building a team around, with a core group of young players. Haven't found that many answers except in the batting. The bowling is still struggling.
True. So it was the same case again today. India won the toss, decided to bowl first. They looked really good for a while, 4 wickets down, and Australia were in a position where they have not been before in the series.
Yes.
Thanks to an excellent debut from Jasprit Bumrah today.
Yes, I think he's been, Bumrah was the pick of the bowlers from the Indian team. I think he's very unorthodox,
Yes.
but Australian players have seen him in the IPL.
IPL, yeah.
However, I think he's kind of built up a little on his pace. He's not, indisciplined, in the sense he's not bowling wides and no balls, so that's also a big plus. And I thought that he held his nerve. That's the biggest quality that I found from Bumrah. The Indian bowlers, otherwise by and large, Umesh Yadav, they've been either indisciplined in line and length, or they tend
Erratic,
to,
yeah.
you get hit for a boundary and you tend to lose nerve, which is not the case with Bumrah, which is a fantastic quality to have in a young bowler. And then, of course, look at it from the batsman's point of view, the batting point of view. You had Manish Pandey, also a youngster, held his nerve. What a tense game this was, for him to have led the team to victory. And it looked for a stage when Dhoni was struggling for his timing that, perhaps the match is squandered, despite what Rohit did and what Shikhar Dhawan did, and of course Manish Pandey. But he held his nerve. Look at the way he's batted, especially in the last 5-7 overs with Dhoni struggling.
Fantastic temperament.
Fantastic temperament, great running between the wickets. And may I add, he was the pick of the Indian fielders. In the square, in the
He was
he was
absolutely
absolutely
superb,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Which is why you might remember in the earlier matches I've been rooting for him. I've watched this guy for the last 3 or 4 years in domestic cricket. He's been outstanding. He's one of the reasons why Karnataka did so well for a couple of years in every format. So here he was, this guy getting a big stage, a big match, and I think he's a hero for India.
True.
In every sense of the word.
And Manish Pandey fittingly hit the winning runs at the end, getting his century in the last over, getting India home. Something that we have been struggling, to see finish off innings.
So ultimately,
something
how
we
you
missed in
finish?
Canberra.
Yeah, how you finish? Your bowlers either come back and, even if it's a batting flat track, pata wicket as we say in Bombay, they do something to restrict the batsman from scoring runs. Or if you are batting last, how do you go about? There has to be a closure to the match. There's no point playing brilliantly for 80% of the times and then going out to lose the match, which is actually what has happened with India consistently in all these matches.
Kohli touched upon that before this match, before the final match. It's about they've done well consistently, but it's the crucial moments that they were found lacking.
So
And today they
through at a crucial time, or you effect a run out, or a great field that you put in, or a terrific shot, one great over. These are things which change the course of a match in limited overs cricket, as we all know. So those occasions have been far fewer for India than for Australia, and that has been the difference in the two teams. Otherwise, it's always been virtually tit for tat.
Yeah, I mean both teams
have
making
been
300.
matched. Yeah. I would only say that Australia have been not at full strength. Certainly because with Mitchell Starc missing, they've been also in the experimental mode. So they've tried out more players, taking the risk that we might lose, but we still need to experiment. So give them that much, but you have to square it off with the fact that they're playing at home conditions, and they're the World Cup champions. So beating them was never going to be easy. The only thing is that you came so close to winning virtually every match.
Yes.
And you end
at
up
least the last three India were favourites at one point.
Verdict. That'll be a bit disappointing, but nevertheless, you finish with a win. I think at least going ahead into the T20 series, the players will be a little bit relieved, and perhaps even the morale will be higher.
I mean, 4-1 sounds much better than final. So you touched upon Manish Pandey's brilliant innings. The start was obviously great. Shikhar and Rohit gave us a good start. Then Kohli, a rare cheap dismissal.
About Shikhar, because we've discussed him earlier, and I was of the opinion that he should have been dropped after the second match, and maybe Rahane plays up and Manish, because I was. For some reason I felt that Manish should be in the team. He
showed it today. We missed him.
But nothing to show because he got very few deliveries. But Shikhar, to his credit, has come back superbly. And you see, sometimes it takes a player a little while to get adjusted. Maybe it took him a little longer, despite having been there 1 week earlier. But after he's found his touch, he's been in glorious form. So that opening partnership has worked superbly for India, because Rohit again looked extremely good. Little unfortunate to miss another 100.
Maybe India won, so that worked out okay. The 99 proved out.
Superstitious guy. No. I think it was a century well deserved. This thing about him scoring century.
I'm pretty sure that this 99 gave him much more pleasure than the 171 he made in the first
What's
one.
important is going ahead, because these two guys are going to open in the T20.
Yes.
Shikhar and Rohit, and they are looking in very good touch. Shikhar is a rhythm player out and out. When he is lacking a little in rhythm, then his feet don't move as much or as well as you would like, and then you tend to see him struggling badly, which is happening with Dhoni. Throughout this series, we've seen only very brief glimpses of Dhoni at his best. That one cameo he made, he played 23, and today maybe one or two shots.
Yes.
But otherwise, it almost seemed as if Dhoni is going to make the ship sink.
Yes. So going to Twitter, we had quite a few responses towards the end.
Yeah.
So when the going was not too good for Dhoni, these are the tweets that we got.
Yeah.
Ashwi said, this is more about Dhoni single-handedly winning it for Australia than for India. Has Dhoni played his last ODI? Asked Priyanka Kumari. Then Akipedia said, is this Dhoni or Sushant Singh Rajput shooting for Dhoni? So these are the questions we got, and
The answer to all three is no.
just when it looked like Dhoni might have actually played a very crucial role in India not winning this match,
And
he
not
hit
so
that
happy role.
Yes, and he hit that 4 in the 48th over, and then the 6 in the 50th over.
Look, I think so. I don't think it was Sushant. It was Dhoni. I don't think he's played his last match, because I wouldn't discount Dhoni as a player just yet, and he's not at his best. He's not at his best because I think somewhere, Sunil Gavaskar mentioned in one of his columns, if I remember correctly, that he's not playing enough competitive matches now that he's not in the test team.
True.
So, and he did make a point to play domestic cricket, which otherwise he was not playing.
He's played after a long time.
So he's narrowed his options, which means that he has to put in that much more, not effort in the nets, but to kind of actualize his own form, potential, his caliber in the middle in fewer opportunities. And that can get tough, because he's not in the first flush of youth.
True.
He is now in his mid-30s. He's had a magnificent career. He's had a long innings, and it's a long innings with the additional burden of being also wicketkeeper and also being captain.
Yeah.
So I think he's been struggling a bit. Having said that, Dhoni's presence to me still gives you a lot of security.
True.
I know that he's not had great knocks this series, and at least in the fourth match, had he made runs, India would have won. So in that sense, and he acknowledged it himself. He was man enough to put up his hand and say, I kind of messed it up.
True.
But I think that this win could see about a change in Dhoni's own form, because self-doubts may be reduced, as also the way he kind of marshals his team from here. He has been critical of his bowlers. I think he need not have been public, because the next day you saw the batsman failing, or the next match.
Yes.
I think what he needs to do is kind of blow in some more enthusiasm, focus and hunger in his players. Obviously, some players have not come good. The bowling has been disappointing. He can't set fields for guys who are going to bowl on the leg stump or wide of or give enough width to the batsman. There's nothing a captain can do.
Umesh Yadav was prime example.
He's going to hit a century with his bowling today.
He ended up with 8 overs, 82 for 1.
So Dhoni's had his challenges, but I think that's where captaincy comes into play. How you rein in players who may be becoming, profligate, not performing to potential. What do you tell the people in the dressing room how to go about and win a match? I think in the previous match, that was the problem. When you lost 9 wickets for 46 runs, there was no communication saying how we can win.
True.
It was left to them, to their own devices. So that, I think, Dhoni had that magic earlier. He needs to reignite that magic.
True. And today, for the longest part, it looked like him being out in the middle. We were still talking, when he was struggling, he wasn't able to middle the ball. But we said, Dhoni is there. It just takes 2 shots from Dhoni to swing this in India's favor. So that's the kind of, he might not be the same finisher.
You had a lot of Indian fans chomping their own
Exactly.
hearts,
He might not be the same finisher he was before, but you could still sense, if Dhoni could get one away, this could change. So that's the kind of security that Dhoni gives.
I think we tend to just think that players of a certain age remain of that age forever and ever. We always wanted Sachin to bat as he did when he was 18 and 20, when he was 40. It's not possible. Even Viv Richards was not the great hitter and striker of the ball in his when he was finishing his game. He was obviously still better than almost everybody else, but he was not what he was at 24, 25, 27, 30. That's bound to happen with age to everybody. I think Dhoni's greater influence in the team is now of wise head, more experience, how to channelize his resources, because that's the strength in his captaincy so far. He needs to kind of, I feel, still get a little bit more of his mojo back. I don't like to see Dhoni with his shoulders slagging, the body language a little hapless. That was never the Dhoni.
Yeah.
So whether his batting is a bit of a struggle, I would take that as long as his mojo is back in the field and he is on top of the game.
True. So all said and done, it's a 4-1 series loss for Dhoni's team. Yeah. So where does it leave him as a captain, in the sense that there were calls yesterday from Erapalli Prasanna, the legendary spinner, who said some of the decisions he's been making throughout the series has been baffling. He doesn't think that Dhoni, the batsman or the wicketkeeper, is still finished, but he thinks it's time to give Kohli the captaincy in all 3 formats.
So does Mohinder Ramanatha, and there are, I'm sure, a lot of other people who think. And it's a house divided. There are lots of other former cricketers who feel, no, let's stick with Dhoni. Let's see what happens, and the thing I can say about Dhoni is...
What is your take on, whether he should continue as the captain? So India is not playing any ODI for a long time now. It's all T20s from here on out.
Then the issue is academic. Let me tell you that all opinion will change. Suppose India does extremely well in the T20, World T20, where he's captaining. So suddenly everybody will say, oh wow, he's this, he's that, he's that. So I would think, yes, it's a divided house for reasons which are many. One is his own form, which is a bit on, it's not the same old Dhoni as the finisher and whatever else. The other is the results. Last 3 ODI series that Dhoni is led in, we've lost all 3.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe some badly, some close, but we've lost. And then the other counter is that, when you're looking for orthodox tactics and methods, they were never part of Dhoni's DNA. He was always unconventional. He was doing things which kind of astounded people, and then he got
Sharma in the last over.
Sharma in the last over, promoting himself in the batting order in the World Cup final, and so on and so forth. So when the results come, everything looks a stroke of genius. When it doesn't, it looks like muddle-headed thinking. I think that we have to accept that Dhoni has his own way of thinking. If they are not working consistently over a period of much longer from now, the pressure is obviously on him. Let's face it. He's under duress as a captain. And I think he can help himself, as I mentioned earlier, by getting some of his mojo back. Obviously, you want more runs from him. This is a very good Indian team. We've lost to the world champions.
Yeah.
So this is not a team which is bad. Even against South Africa, it was a terrific South African team. We lost 2-3.
And that was one poor day in Wankhede.
And we lost, but we lost. So that pressure is building up on Dhoni. I think the crux will be the T20 World Championship. Though it's a lottery, the T20 format, but if India do badly, then I think the heat will really be on Dhoni.
Okay, so he has earned himself a few more months, so to speak, couple of months at the helm. So it's all T20s from here on out for India till the World T20 ends, and even after that it's IPL. We're not going to be seeing Dhoni leading India out in ODIs for a while now. So that debate might be moot. So we have a question coming from Periscope, and this was on the Twitter was on Twitter as well earlier. Jadeja did really well today, 10 overs, 46 for 2. Were you surprised with the non-selection of Ashwin again? And what is your take on the spin department? I mean, it looked like this track would have helped Ashwin, and seeing how Rishi Dhawan and Umesh Yadav struggled.
Yeah, I think they borrowed a leaf from Australia's book, and they used more pacemen, one spinner, and two guys who Gurkeerat as a part-timer, but guys who would cut down the pace and change of pace and bring in some variations which Rishi Dhawan can do. But against Ashwin, I think they felt in the first two matches he was clobbered too badly, so badly that they felt that these guys are on top. The Australian batsmen are on top of Ashwin. It's disappointing for the bowler himself and also for India, because he went there as India's main weapon, and he had to be dropped after 2 matches. I would perhaps have played him in today's match. I think that he wouldn't have done worse than
Umesh Yadav, so to speak,
or in the previous match somebody else. So and you had his greater experience. But then I think all kinds of thoughts come in. These are big fielder? Is he better fielder than so and so? Are we risking? Okay, he might give 60 runs in 10 overs or 55, but he might concede 10 runs more, and therefore all kinds of equations come into play. It's been a disappointing series for R. Ashwin, certainly, and he needs to kind of work it out for himself, along with help from Shastri and whoever else, maybe Dhoni and the support staff, that once he steps outside India or the subcontinent,
how does he make an impact?
Yeah. I think that's the big question.
That's always been the big question with Ashwin.
He's still a very young bowler, for a spinner, and he's been fantastic in subcontinent pitches. But how do you, if you're going to be left out, the best bowler of the team is going to be left out, then it's a serious issue.
True. And we saw that again today, but the move didn't probably pay off with Dhawan and Umesh Yadav going for plenty of runs. 10 overs 74 for Dhawan and 8 overs 82 for Umesh Yadav. So the jury is still out on whether it was the right call to drop Ashwin or not.
My personal opinion is not.
Yeah.
But I'm just playing devil's advocate and saying what kind of thoughts may have come into play. I would have liked to see Ashwin, put him into that challenging situation and say, come on, win this match for us or do something,
Yeah. So the series ends 4-1. We move on to the T20s.
Ends on a happier note than what it was.
Yes, it's a 4-1 loss, but yes,
smiling today.
Exactly. A lot more smiles in the newsroom too as well today.
I think the enduring memory of this match is really Manish Pandey. Frankly, I think that the way he batted, good start and all that, but you still have to finish. And actually, India has been struggling in the finish rather than at the starts, as you know. So for him to come out and play this kind of a knock under this pressure, I think it shows a lot. He's not 21, he's about 26, 27. So he's been around for a while, which shows, look, one of the things we've been talking about, or the team management has been talking about, is that youngsters, when they go about overseas, they're on a learning curve. I've always argued, yes, it's great, no doubt, they have to be on a learning curve, but from the curve, some learning should also accumulate. Yeah. Now, this is the kind of learning curve which I think is worthwhile. He is not a rookie, but neither is Rishi Dhawan. They are not 19, 20. So they are youngsters. But you have to adjust quickly. I mean, some of India's great players of the past also started off young. I'm not only mentioning Sachin Tendulkar, and they proved themselves not after 10 years. So your learning curve cannot go on endlessly. You take Dravid or Ganguly or Harbhajan or Dravid, and so many of them, they got in within a couple of years. They were where they were established. Yeah. That's what needs to be done. That's the thinking that should come in.
True. And player like Manish Pandey definitely deserves more chances on the basis of what he did today. It's perhaps slightly disappointing that it came on the day when it was announced that Gurkeerat would stay back as Rahane's cover for the T20s and not
Don't be surprised
Manish
if after
Pandey.
this performance, the tour management puts in a request to the BCCI and says we'll keep back an extra player.
If that happens, Manish Pandey deserves it.
Right.
Manish Pandey
He's
deserves
also 20 runs plus in the field.
True. He was electric on in the circle today, and then he played a brilliant knock,
Fantastic.
debut century,
Fantastic.
won it for India in the end. So we hope we get to see more of Manish Pandey in the future. He is a player who's earned it through toiling in the domestic
He's got
circuit.
the opportunity. He's made the most of it today. Now it's up to him. Say this is my place. Nobody's budging me from here.
True. So on that note, we move on to the T20s. With that, all the T20s were always supposed to be the biggest part of this series. Ahead of the World T20.
As a build-up to the World T20, they're very important.
True.
I think a win in this T20 series would be great for the Indian team in terms of preparation for the World Championships. Then, of course, you've got Yuvraj, Nehra and Harbhajan coming back.
Lots to look forward. Suresh Raina coming back into the
Suresh Raina coming back. So, I think that this is a great opportunity for India because these are all established players.
Yeah.
And apart from Raina, I think the other three have come, some have argued why weren't they in the ODI team. And some said actually the selectors have chosen the T20 team for the ODIs and the ODI team for the T20s, which I don't agree. Because Yuvraj and Nehra and Harbhajan have actually done well in domestic tournaments. They've done well in the T20 format, which is why, and you should choose players on form rather than past reputation. But from there, who knows? If they do well, it could lead to, their careers could get extended. So
there's lots to look forward to. T20s are obviously going to be more exciting. We'll have Ayaz here for all three T20s. First one starts on 26th.
Republic Day.
Republic Day.
Yes.
Australia Day too.
Australia Day too.
So should be a great match. Join us then.
Yeah.
We'll
It's been great fun and we'll team up again.
T20s.
Ah.
More electric.
More electric, yes.
Thank you guys.